Hiring can be the most lucrative thing you do in your business,
And stressful.
the most stressful thing you do. It can be the hardest lesson to learn and the most expensive mistake you make. You kind of have to go into hiring not just to find the right person with the right hard skills. I mean, those matter for sure, but you got to find the right human for your culture. Here are a few things that we have seen, not just for ourselves, but with some of our clients that we would highly recommend you not do when hiring. What do you think the worst hire we ever made was?
You've made a few.
Me?
Yeah, you hired me.
Done. Episode over.
Mic drop.
No, but really, like, I don't know that we could necessarily even put a dollar amount on it. 30,000 just felt like, I don't know, a good place to start. But honestly, the amount that we have learned in hiring the wrong people over the last few years is so valuable. Like, I feel like we could just sell a course on who not to hire.
What not to do.
Learn from us.
Don't do what we did. I think my favorite was the office manager we hired that was basically hotboxing inside the bathroom and then acting like we couldn't smell any of the weed that was on her or in the office. It was awesome.
Yeah. We noticed the smell, and then I think she was telling me, which there were a lot of red flags with this one that we ignored, but
there weren't.
Not in her interview. She interviewed great. She did not smell like cannabis at her interview. And then she smelled so distinctly that we were like, am I going crazy? Like my EA at the time was like very, very sweet, innocent Christian. Bailey, I love you. And she was like, I'm not sure if that's what it is, but I have concerns. And I think at one point she told me, she's like, yeah, my husband and his line of work, whatever. I was like, oh, what does your husband do? And she's like, yeah, he distills like cannabis oil. Like he distills THC. And I'm like,
it's the family business.
Okay. So we've learned.
She lasted a week.
Yeah. She was also just not very nice. Like she was kind of mean to me. It was a really interesting one. I was actively training her, and I think she's the one person who's left us a bad review, like an employer review on Indeed.
Oh yeah, I saw that. They move too fast. There's no organization.
Yes.
Yeah, and you smell like weed.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like you kind of have to go into hiring not just to find the right person with the right hard skills. I mean, those matter for sure, but you got to find the right human for your culture. And like, yes, you and I move fast and we break shit. That is the reason that we have been successful, but that doesn't work for a lot of people.
So many people, they like their little routines in their box. And it makes sense though, because if they didn't, they'd be entrepreneurs themselves.
Yeah, I mean, you can find the entrepreneurs, and we've found some awesome people too. But I do think that like that was a mistake that we made early on, was hiring people because of their resume and not necessarily looking for the more, I don't know, intangible like personality traits and soft skills that fit with us specifically. I think for me, the one that stings the most is like this caricature of the business owner before who we brought on, who came in and it was like, ooh, this person has so much experience and they've handled the same shit that I've handled. So
I don't have to train them.
Yeah, exactly.
Plug and play.
Exactly. And then this person comes into your company and is like talking shit behind your back about how terrible your systems are and how they would do things differently and blah, blah, blah. Like that kills culture more than anything. And I feel like for me, I would take the girl who smoked weed over the culture killer, like negative, I do it better person any day.
Yeah, you smoke enough weed, you're pretty happy overall.
Why wasn't she happier?
That's true.
Anyways, here are a few things that we have seen, not just for ourselves, but with some of our clients that we would highly recommend you not do when hiring. And the first one comes to us from one of our clients, actually a few of our clients, who are in this place, like so many of us are, of scarcity. And not wanting to spend money right? We think of like spending money. We want to hold on to our money. We want to keep it close to us. We start making it after not making it for so long. And it's like, oh, it feels so good. I want to keep it. And it's like, yes, and right? Money likes to be spent, it likes to be circulated. Abundance, baby. We have to trust that the more money we make, the more money we're going to make. And when we start hitting this place where we're getting busier and our time is being utilized more to deliver the service or manage the team or whatever it is, we got to bring in other people to help us. So I think the first mistake is trying to wait to hire until after you should. Like people are like, I want to wait until I get to this point. I want to wait until my revenue is here. You got to hire before you're ready.
And I think it goes back to knowing your numbers.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you know your numbers, you can model and forecast where you might be in 3 to 6 months.
Totally.
And that's actually what happened with us, why we hired a third doc at one of our locations, because we had figured out ads, we were growing quickly. And I was like, Danielle, I looked at our completed visits week over week for the last 12 weeks. We are averaging an increase of +8 visits every week. We are going to be at capacity very quickly. Like, we need to hire now.
And I didn't feel ready.
Yeah.
It's a scary thing, but you were right.
And we got there and it happened. And I think it happened, honestly, a little sooner because of ad spend. But yeah, we kind of, could have gotten into a place where we had a big wait list or quality was suffering. And we were able to kind of just keep the momentum going because you also have to factor in ramp time and interview time. It may take you a little bit to find the right person.
Often it does.
Yeah.
Often it does. So, we have a client right now who is growing like crazy. When she started working with us, she was at 18K back in December and she hit what last month? 52, 48?
Something around 50.
She's at about $50,000. So really, really, really fast growth. And she is superhuman, man. This woman is just unstoppable. It's her and one team member.
Not even full time.
Not even full time.
Yeah.
And she went from 18 to 50K in that period of time in 3 months. And she's like, well, I don't know if I want to hire someone yet. Like maybe I think I'll be ready in 2 months. I'm like, Doc, what is your day feeling like? What is your week feeling like? And she's like, I'm really tired. I'm really overwhelmed. I feel burnout. It's like, yeah, we got to hire someone sooner. Like you will never feel ready in terms of, I mean, maybe you will, but like most of the time, you're not going to feel ready in terms of your revenue. You're going to always feel like there's more that you could do, more prepared that you could be. But like, you got to get the people in to help you. And to your point, when we have data, we can be like, okay, if I get, let's say, a CA in who can table people, who can do my nervous system scans, who can do shockwave, laser, whatever the therapy is, or the thing that they're going to be doing in your office, who does that free up? Does that free you up from doing those scans? In our office, a CA helps us save 20 minutes for every new patient. We can see 3 to 4 adjustments in that time. All of a sudden, every new patient, we're making $180 to $240 more because of that person? Well, in that hour time that I'm paying that CA $25, $20, whatever it is in your area, you've made 10 times that, right? So I think when you have those numbers, it's really empowering because you can look and not just say it's going to cost me $3,000 a month to have this person, but actually this person gives me the leverage to earn this much more. So when you have that growth, to your point earlier, that runway where you can anticipate the growth is going to happen in X period of time or like fast, then you know that is not a cost, it's an investment. And that person's actually going to help you grow even more.
And that's the big mistake. It is absolutely an investment if you hire the right person. If you don't hire the right person, then sure, you can lose money on that investment. But if you get the right person in that seat, in the right role, it can open up your capacity and leverage. I mean, they call it human capital for a reason, capital being an investment. So, it just gives you so much more runway to grow or get time back so you can breathe a little bit and you're not doing the administrative stuff. And that's just mind-numbingly boring and monotonous, right? You'll never be ready. Like, just get that out of your mind. There's never going to be a perfect time that's like, ding, you've unlocked a new CA. It's always going to be this moving target. And you're always going to feel like, I don't know. What if, new patients are down this week? Bullshit.
Monkey mind.
Yeah. So just post the job
And see who comes.
and see who comes, because you can always take it down and say, we didn't get anyone we liked. And it may take longer than you think.
And I think in that same vein, another challenge that we see is that people are trying to hire part-time
Yep.
to save money.
And the question I want you to ask yourself is a part-time staff going to help you double your business? Hell no, because they're only there part-time. One, they're not invested.
What happens when you do get busier because they helped you grow? Now, all of a sudden, they probably have another job or family obligations or things. Like, there's a reason they're working part-time, and you can't ask that person to work more, most likely.
Yeah.
So now you're capped and you have to hire again. Just hire the full-time person before you're ready, who is bought into your business, who is available and there to help you, who can help you grow past that next little mini stop in your growth.
Yeah. Again, it's scarcity.
Totally.
It's, I'm not ready enough. I can't afford a full-time person.
It's a cost, not an investment.
It's a cost, not an investment. And if I do hire someone, I'll get them part-time because it's cheaper. I can save $1,000. It's like, okay, let's do the math. $20 an hour times 40 hours worked a week is $800 times 4 weeks in a month, $3,200. Can you find 2 extra care plans per month to pay for that overhead? Yeah, I think so. So again, I always kind of work backwards to like, how many new patients do I need to justify this or pay that overhead cost?
Yeah, if you haven't listened,
pretty nominal.
If you haven't listened to the Know Your Numbers episode from last week, go back and listen to that, because seriously, like, having this information will make you feel strong and empowered to make these decisions and know that it's going to be an investment and give you that runway for growth. Stop living in scarcity. I know it's easier said than done, but like, when you feel that like that tightening in your chest, that is your signal to push forward, right? Because we know that expansion, that growth, that moving into the future version of yourself fucking hurts. It's uncomfortable. Like, think about a shake. Don't think about a shake. Shake Shack. Think about a snake shedding its skin, right?
Shake.
That snake has to go through this process of its skin literally breaking open and coming off. Like, that is what happens when we expand. The version of ourselves, the person that's here right now that has either the team that you already have or is doing everything themselves, has functioned at this state. And in order to expand into the next version of yourself and the next version of your business, you got to literally outgrow that. That shit is uncomfortable. So when you're feeling those uncomfortable feelings, when you're like, oh, I don't know, like, lean into that. That's good. That means you're on the right track.
Absolutely.
Okay. So let's say that you've gotten past the monkey mind and you're like, okay, I'm ready. Let's do it. Let's hire the person. I feel like the next mistake that we see is you've waited too long to hire. And now you're like, oh, fuck, I'm burnout. I'm overwhelmed. I'm way too busy. I need this person yesterday. And so we rush the interview process, right? So we kind of take people that maybe aren't the best fit, and or we take people who seem like a good enough fit, whether it's in their first interview or on paper.
Or worse, you hire a patient.
Ugh. A patient who's not perfectly vetted
or qualified.
Those are two different, I think those are two different things we need to talk about. But yeah, like, we rush through. And so we kind of like write off and forgive things that we really shouldn't. And we invite somebody in who really ultimately is not a good fit in the first place. And we've definitely done this. I have made almost every single one of these mistakes. And I feel like this usually gives you the person. We had one at one of our offices who is like late once in the first week. You're like, how are you late once in the first week? And then they're late 3 times in the second week. And then you look back at their 90 days in office when you're doing their 90-day review, and you're like, holy shit, you have been late or missed or had some sort of like attendance issue for 45 out of 60 working days. Whoops.
I forgot about her.
There have been a lot, but
there's too many to keep track of and remember.
Which is why we are perfectly qualified to deliver this episode. Do as I say, not as I've done.
We should do an episode on hiring or firing people next.
I would have to take a shower after that one. All the shame needs to wash off my body. No, I mean, truly though, if you get in, here's the thing. The other, like, to our point before, hire before you're ready, the worst thing that happens is your worst fears are correct. you don't make the revenue growth that you anticipated, you can let that person go. Whether it's because of their performance issues, no reason at all, because you don't have the revenue to justify keeping them, like, you can let people go. Obviously, check your state laws. In California, we're an at-will state, so as long as you're not discriminating against somebody, you can fire them for no reason, you know? So, like, give them a 90-day probationary period, and if it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit. You're not married to this person forever, you know? And so I think while that exists, like that's one side of the coin. I also think if we take a little bit longer in our interview process, we screen people a little bit more discerningly, then we won't put ourselves in a position where we have to let as many people go, which is, it sucks. It's uncomfortable. It's shitty all around, you know?
Yeah, and I think when you're looking at a resume and you're trying to figure out if someone's a good fit, when I think back to some of our bad hires, one, we didn't know what the fuck we were doing. But two, it was like, oh, she's a doula. Oh, she's worked at a preschool. She loves kids and we're a family office. So awesome. Perfect. And it's like, no,
Yeah.
I don't need a kindergarten teacher.
Not as an office manager who's supposed to be strategic.
And operational minded.
Right.
Like it's just not fair to them because we're putting them in a situation that they can't win.
Right.
Because we are expecting this end result and we are putting the wrong butt in that seat.
Right.
So I think we finally got clear on like, what do we need in this role? Who do we need this person to be? And, you know, for any office manager, it's really threefold. I need an operations mind. I need a big personality, and you have to have some kind of sales or money mindset, you know, growth mindset, because there's financial conversations you're having. You're the first voice they hear over the phone, the first face they see when they walk in. And I need you to track the numbers and the inventory and all the operations. And if something is broken process wise, you got to tell me so that we can fix it, right? Or come to me with ideas on how to fix it or how you've made it better. And I think that has helped us once we got clear on those three,
Definitely.
like interviewing or just reviewing resumes through those three lenses, and then the personality fit on the phone calls in the actual interviews. And then we kind of got over ourselves of like, what's okay to ask in interviews. And that was kind of scary at first, but now we're not afraid to be like, so why'd you leave your last job? Okay, I see here you worked at this job a year ago. Why'd you leave that one? What were your primary responsibilities? How'd you know you were doing a good job? What were you gold on? What was a situation? You love the situational behavioral ones.
Mm-hmm. I love to see how somebody's brain works, right? I pose them with a challenge.
On the hot seat.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Because when you're working in a clinic, you're going to have, if it's a doctor, you're going to have clinical situations that you have to deal with. You're going to have families and individuals who are maybe feeling like they're in crisis. They have, you know, their bodies are not feeling good. They have challenging symptoms. They've got things going on. Like, you've got to be able to act quickly, professionally, and I need to see that your brain works in a similar way to mine, because I need to be able to trust that you're going to act in a way that I would, right? Like, again, to be part of my company, we got to align in terms of our values and our approach. And I think that was something that I also missed early on, was like just thinking we could all come together and be our separate versions of ourselves. And while that's true, I think values aligning is a really, really big deal. And I think if people don't approach things the way that you do, you're going to be in conflict with them, or at least the actions that they've taken, which doesn't lead to a good working relationship. But yeah, I love the behavioral situational questions. It's like, hey, let's say that this happens, and choose something that's happened in your clinic, right? Maybe you had somebody come in, and one time I had a mom bring a daughter in, sensory issues, you know, interested in chiropractic care. We did the evaluation. Dad comes in for the ROF and was hostile. Like, this man, you would think that he didn't know that we were a chiropractor before he brought his daughter in. And then we like pulled a curtain and he discovered it while he was in the office, and he was duped. Like, he was fuming. He was so red and mad by the end of my report that, like, I was looking around like, is this really happening? Like, he was like, I hate chiropractors. I don't believe in this. I think, like, it was a really intense situation that I had to respond to. This is maybe not an example of what I would use in an interview, but like, that's the kind of shit that happens in real life, right? So maybe you have somebody who doesn't want to pay for care, even though they're a few visits in, or You've got, a patient who comes back for doctors who's complaining about having worsening symptoms after an adjustment. How do you handle that?
Someone brings their dog in the office and it bites another patient,
How do you handle that?
or other patients are getting uncomfortable that there's a pit bull close to their babies.
Yeah, we had somebody bring in a pit bull as a service dog wearing a service dog uniform, and we had moms with babies in the practice that were complaining, right? So for an office manager who's going to be kind of head of the ship, how do you handle that situation? You've got patients who could potentially be upset on both sides. What do you do? So I think that those types of questions are really valuable because somebody can rehearse answering like, why did you leave your last job? Why did you do this? Why did you do that? Or, tell me about your career path, but they can't rehearse these answers. And so you really get to see their brain work in real time. And I love it. I think it's such a good indicator. And even if they say the wrong answer, if they use good logic, if they think critically, if they ask more questions, like if I see the wheels turning the way I need them to, I don't really care what the answer is. It's more about what they're using or how they're getting there.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the biggest challenges, especially early on with interviewing, is I ask a question and then I'm thinking about what I'm going to ask you next,
Right.
and I'm not listening
Right.
deeply for those red flags. And one of the biggest red flags when I think of some of our worst hires of why, and it's not their fault, right? Like ultimately, extreme ownership, it was on us. It was
Yeah,
our fault. We
definitely.
put them in a situation they couldn't win. It was mostly around growth mindset, both personal development, like their values of, themselves and growth mindset and money mindset, whatever, didn't align to us. And then the money aspect to it. Because sure, $2,000 care plan, if you're making $25 an hour, that's a lot of money to you.
Mhm.
But I need you to be okay with that and not have that limiting fact. Oh, well, maybe you want to just pay per visit. That's not helping the business grow, right? That's their own beliefs coming into our ecosystem. And I mean, they don't realize in the moment that that limiting belief is what's paying their bills and their livelihood, or, that $2,000 care plan is what's paying their bills and their livelihood. But I like asking every type of employee that we hire some like sales type of questions, but really specifically doctors as well. Because I want to see how convicted a doctor is with recommending care. Because if they're just kind of lax, like the one doctor who had her own business and then came in, yeah, come in whenever you want.
Mhm.
Whenever you have pain, come on by. And it's like, I can't build a business on that. And honestly, you're doing the patient a disservice.
Definitely.
So where is that rooted from? Your money mindset, because you're not confident enough to recommend a care plan and say, you need this, you will get this result, you will get this transformation.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to the values, right? Because for that doctor in particular, the value was not in a care plan. That doctor didn't agree with us or didn't align with the belief that, in order to make neuroplastic neurological change, that you need to have care frequently over a short period of time to like shift things, the pattern, right? She looked at chiropractic and was like, this is a pain relief thing. This helps to manage symptoms. This is musculoskeletal. So we had a values mismatch. And I think that happens a lot, especially for us, because we are a more nervous system focused office and we are located near a very PT, physio, musculoskeletal based chiropractic school. So we tend to attract folks who are like the sports docs, who are pain management docs, who are trained in that philosophy. And then we're like, hey, here's what people need to not just get better from symptoms, but stay well and maintain a good pattern moving forward. And so, to your point, if they don't have that conviction because they don't believe in what we're doing, well, then no, they're not going to feel in alignment with selling a 24 visit care plan. Right. But for me, there is no question in my mind that that person needs 24 visits, 36 visits, whatever it is over that period of time, because I have seen the transformations. And that's the other thing is like, being able to tap into somebody's mindset around sales conversations. Can we change that? Yeah. Does it take a lot of work to like help change someone's mindset, especially if they don't want to? And that's your point about the growth mindset, right? It's one thing to teach someone something to help them shift beliefs and identity. But if they come in and they don't want to change, there's not much that we can do about that.
Yeah. If they don't want to change, I mean, that's like, obviously, you can't overcome that. One step before that, we're at a insurance-based office.
Mhm.
And now here we are asking them to sell a $2,000 care plan. And maybe they're a year out of school and they have a bunch of student loan debt.
Mhm.
And so it's, again, that money mindset is there, but also they just don't have the experience. So a mistake I made was like, oh, you're a great doc and I can get you on my team for only 65K base salary because you're only 1 year out of school.
We pay 70K base for new grads.
Whatever, shows you what I know. An overlooking of how they would perform
Yeah.
in our system.
Totally.
And that's a brand new skill they have to learn. So they know the chiropractic, but now I got to teach them sales and mindset and our systems and our talk track.
Well, and a lot of times,
That's a lot.
those new
Unless you
grads
have the right personality and it's natural, or you've done some kind of sales job before that insurance clinic that you worked at, you're either born with it or you're not. I feel like that you could just pick it up pretty quick. I don't know.
I would agree with that, like 80%. I think that there's like 20% of people that can learn and shift, but they have to have a growth mindset,
Yeah.
right? If you don't have the mindset that you want to get better, you're not going to get better. And I think it's interesting with new grads because a lot of them know chiropractic, but they're not confident in delivering chiropractic either. So not only are you teaching them things, you're also helping them create value in themselves as a doctor and their capabilities.
God, who has time for that?
And that is a question you need to ask yourself. I interviewed a newer grad this week for one of our clinics, and I think she's got potential, but she got hired by somebody who made a hiring mistake. This clinic was looking for somebody to come in because one of their doctors left. Apparently, all of their doctors have like 20 plus years of experience. And like we're talking about right now, when you bring in a doc that has 20 years of experience, there's not a lot you have to teach them. Yeah, you train them on your specific protocols, SOPs, whatever you have going in your practice, but like they know how to be a doctor. They don't really need to be trained on chiropractic. And so this clinic made the mistake of looking for the wrong kind of doc or letting in the wrong kind of doc. And they brought in a new grad. And this poor girl spent her first 90 days not really being trained, not really being, built up the way you have to with a new grad. And so then she ended up getting let go after 90 days. But it's like, how was that? It wasn't her fault. But that doctor clearly didn't have the capacity, the skills, the experience in training somebody like that, And I think that we early on definitely did. We took a new grad who had zero self-confidence, hardly could talk to a person, and now she's crushing it. She's good. She's a really strong doc in our office. But it took her shadowing me every day. It took me pouring into her, practicing, role playing, correcting over and over and over again. And she's confident now 2.5 years in, right? It didn't happen right away. It took a long time. And so I think when you're hiring, just like we said earlier with scarcity, a big mistake that we see is you're hiring a new grad because you look at the price tag as opposed to what it's going to take to pour into that person. If you have the time, the capacity, the willingness, the patience to train a new grad, by all means, they come in with less bad habits. Usually they've got a good attitude. Usually they're hungrier to learn. I love a new grad for all those reasons, but it's a big investment of your time and energy. And so I think if you're at a point where you're facing like burnout because you're seeing a million people a day and you're hiring your first associate, like really think wisely if it's worth saving 10K a year, right? For somebody who's brand new versus getting somebody who's got a little more experience and is going to make your life easier. And one thing I'll say is like base salary isn't everything. We can give incentives. We can create compensation plans that are win-win. I definitely don't think you should totally rob somebody on their base salary and promise them an incentive that is going to take them a million years to get to. But like give them a solid base that's maybe lower than they want, but then give them the incentive with their growth, whatever those KPIs or percentages that you're going to give them, that gets them to where they want to be, maybe even a little bit above. It's a give get, So don't hire just based on price tag, I think is a really big one. And I think the final mistake that I want to just address one more time and make real clear is like to the opposite extent of that, if you are bringing somebody in to represent your brand, don't just hire somebody because they have good experience, because they've been in practice for 20 years. Because equal and opposite to the new grad, now you're bringing somebody in who has habits, be they good or bad. They've got habits. They've got strong opinions about how things should be done, how things shouldn't be done. And they may or may not like your policies and procedures, even if they say in the beginning that they do. Once they get into the groove of it, maybe they don't. So if you have a very strong brand, you feel strongly about how things should function in terms of your systems, in terms of your technique, in terms of, whatever, the way you do things, then you might want somebody who's a little bit newer, who's a little bit more malleable, who isn't going to come in with that ego. And I think ego is probably my least favorite thing. And like, I don't know how you screen for that necessarily.
You have to listen really well in the interview process and pick up on some of the cues but it is hard because you want people that are confident
Yeah.
and convicted
Yes.
and they're bought in their ability and chiropractic and everything. Yeah, it's hard. But that's why we also do a 90-day, like first 90-day, and we say, hey, this is a trial period. And you can really start to see what was interview like versus, okay, onboarding. And now you're seeing patients, right? That full end-to-end ramp. How is it going to be? Do I want to commit to you after this 90 days?
Totally. So here's kind of the roadmap that we've created over many lessons that we've learned in many years of doing this that, take it or leave it, take pieces of it. But this is how we have learned to successfully bring in the right people to our team. So step one is filtering that resume, not putting on rose colored glasses. Like, look for the experience, the hard skills, the things on paper that you absolutely want and are non negotiable to be missing. And then the things that are absolutely not going to be a fit. I think, again, when we wait too long, we get to this point of desperation. We start to let things slide. So hire before you're ready and really look for the hard skills, the things on paper first. Then when you found those people, and don't make exceptions, even if you're getting a trickle in, just start posting the job to more places. Then we bring those people in for the first interview. And I say don't let them trickle in because you will start to make excuses for people. Oh, well, they were so nice. And oh, they wore a nice outfit. Or, you like, I feel like when you humanize someone, you kind of are able to forgive
They
some of the
fit our
things.
brand.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, no, that wasn't the right person. They didn't have the right skills. They're not interested in the right thing, right? If we get somebody in who's like, yeah, I really hate kids. It's like,
Or they have kids of their own and they have childcare and commute issues.
yeah.
That's not a situation that is going to be successful for anyone.
Yeah, and you have to be careful there because you can't discriminate against people for having children.
Yes, obviously.
But moving on. So the next thing is like making sure the interview process doesn't become skewed by one person. So the way that we do this in our company is we have one initial interview. Usually this is done by somebody that's not you or I. And we're looking for a basic fit. We want to make sure this person matches the energy, the vibes, the culture, that they're going to be a good fit for our team. And if that person passes that interview, then they get passed along to you. You want to talk about your interview?
I mean, I'm easy. So I'm just the fit check. But I make them feel like I'm just, hey, let's keep it casual, conversational. But really, I'm listening for cues around money and growth and their experience. And then so like my first initial questions are kind of open ended because I want to just get them talking.
Where'd you grow up?
Yeah.
How do you like it in Long
Have you
Beach?
been there? Yeah. And then they'll say something and be like, ooh, tell me about that. And then, oh, well, I don't know where the conversation would go from there. It's like, okay, well, what do you mean by that? You had this job. How'd you know you were doing a good job? How'd you know if you were doing a bad job? And then I kind of put a little more pressure on them to see how they respond. But if they pass me, then they go to the boss. It's like in Super Mario. Level 1's easy. Level 2 is a little harder. But then you get to Bowser in the castle, breathing fire. And that's Danielle.
I'm a little spicy. And it's been hard lately because like I said, we're in a place where We're not finding docs that are jiving. Like a lot of the resumes that are coming through to us, we're not even passing to that first interview. So that when they get to me, I'm like, please be good. But still, then I get on with them. And if the first 2 minutes are like, hey, and they're not really giving me much back, I'm like, oh, fuck. So then I'm just like, okay,
Then you have to sit through it for 15 minutes at least.
yeah, I'm
You
like,
gotta
let's just
give
get through it. I'm
them.
gonna ask them the hard questions to start. But otherwise, if they're giving me some like energy, whatever, I'm like feeling out the rapport because you're nervous around me. Sure, I get it, but you're gonna be nervous when you start in our practice. You're gonna be nervous when you're meeting our patients. So I kind of want to just see how you do in that initial like casual whatever. I also want to feel for like the growth mindset. What does the next 5 years look like for you? And if they're like, "Oh, I don't know, I just wanna have a good job and be happy." I'm like, "Cool." So we don't necessarily align with, like, vision and planning and manifesting and whatever, and you don't need to manifest to join my team. You will at some point start manifesting if you're on my team, but you need to at least be curious about the future, dedicated to some sort of growth in your life. Yeah, I'm aspiring to do this. I'm interested in completing this CEU course. I want to get my CACCP. I want to, my goal is to own a house. I want to join a company where I can grow. Like I'm looking for those types of answers. And if somebody's like, yeah, in 5 years, I would love to be living in Puerto Rico. I'm like, cool, probably not a good fit, right? Because I want somebody who's going to be with us long term. So I ask those types of questions first, and then I get into the situational questions. And I'm like, awesome. So tell me a time, or tell me a time when this happened, like when you were really stressed, and how did you handle that? And if they're like, yeah, my job was really stressful, and I think I handled it well. I'm like, fail, right? But if they can follow directions, give me a specific example, tell me how they worked through it. I don't really care, again, what the situation was or how they handled it. I do a little bit. But I wanna know how they answer that question. Are they thinking critically? Are they following directions? And then the situational, like, "Hey, if this happened, how would you respond?" And again, I'm looking for the way they think about things and if they're coachable, right? If I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that wouldn't necessarily work for us, but here's what I would potentially say, like, what do you think about that?" And if they're like, "Oh, yeah, no, that totally makes sense." Then it's like, "Cool, this person is coachable." And then if they pass that interview, then we bring them in. This is really, I think, my favorite part of the interview process, and I think this is where a lot of docs get it wrong, a lot of clinics get it wrong, is you bring someone in for, like, a shadow day, and then they are a fly on the wall. They don't really talk to anyone, and they leave, and you're like, "What the fuck? They didn't talk to anyone." And we did this early on, and we passed this person through, and she's the one I said has in 2.5 years become a strong doc, but she started out lacking a lot of confidence. That girl could not talk to a single person. And in that interview, I kinda reflected, I'm like, "Man, I told her it was a shadow day." She shadowed. I don't want people shadowing for this. So when they come into our offices, I am prompting them so specifically. It's like I'm talking to AI, right? The better input you give, the better output you're going to get. So I'm like, listen, you're going to come and you're going to hang out with our team. You're going to act like you're already a team member of Verve, whether you're a doc or an admin. You are going to ask questions. You are going to be curious. You are going to get to know our patients, and they're going to walk away and be like, "Who was that?" And want to feel like you're coming back because it was such a good experience. Like that is how I'm prompting them. So I give them every expectation, every opportunity to show up, and if they do, awesome, and if they don't, it's like, well, you can only say you were nervous so much because again, I gave you very clear instructions, right? I didn't tell you this was a shadow day. I didn't tell you to hang back. So if you hang back, you don't talk to anyone, I'm going to assume that that's just your personality, right? That's how you respond when you're stressed. And that's not the right person for our team. So I really love that. And oftentimes depending on the timing of the hire, we'll pair that with my in-person interview. So instead of doing the third interview and then the in-person day, we'll combine those. So I'll go and do the interview with them, get to meet them in person, and they'll do their in-person day with the team. And then another mistake that I've made, don't do this, is I hire that person on the spot before talking to my team.
Yep.
One time specifically that I'm thinking that I did this, we were hungry for a person. We needed an office manager at this office. And despite, a few yellow flags that I had, I was like, she's good enough. She's got back office experience. She's been in, a PT office, which is similar enough. And we brought her on. And afterwards, the team expressed like, concern about her personality and about it being a good fit. And sure enough, she hardly ever talked to our patients. She was always head down in a computer. She was a back office admin person. It just was not a good fit. And I ignored those yellow flags because I was hungry to get the hire. And I should have listened to my team because if I did, I would have had the answer. So if you follow all those steps and you take time to actually ask your team and listen to them, I think that you'll end up with a pretty good person. So yeah, hiring can be the most lucrative thing you do in your business,
And stressful.
the most stressful thing you do. It can be the hardest lesson to learn and the most expensive mistake you make. But if you take our words of caution, don't do what we did, go about it the right way, this will be honestly the most leverage you can possibly have in growing and getting to the next level.
And avoiding burnout.
Hell yeah. Buy back your time, you
You can't
guys.
do it all yourself. Even if you don't want to double your business month over month, let's get some menial tasks off your plate.
This podcast is called The Expanded Life for a reason, right? The business is absolutely important and you want to be building a life that you actually like. Otherwise, what's the point?
What's the point?
All right, guys. We'll see you next time.